Yay, we're going to talk about some of the language they're using to describe Kamala Harris, some of the stuff that has popped up related to J.D. Vance. We're going to talk about Netanyahu's visit to the White House, as well as other political news and trending news. Come join the show. Click the link to join. It should be a fun one. Click the link to join. Let's go. Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active.
Looks like we got us another hit.
Did you tell her to get away from me? She's crazy.
Choose your destiny.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active. Investigate both sides of the argument. Come up with your own conclusions.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
One second, y'all. Hold on. Apologies. Okay. All right. How y'all doing out there? How y'all feel? Y'all feel good? Remember, an educated public cannot be controlled. Learn to be active. The views and events expressed here are totally whacked and are not necessarily the views of anyone. ¿Cómo estás? Bien. ¿Podemos ayudarnos más? Sí se puede. And don't take my word for it. Look that mess up. Do it. Do it for your own benefit. You know, disclaimer. What is in this show could not be true. It could be right, it could be wrong. It's for you to discern. hopefully we can all learn together. Hopefully we can all learn to move forward together, regardless of our political leanings. Hopefully we can use the truth as a springboard for change. The the rhetoric that has been coming out ever since Kamala Harris appeared, ever since Biden dropped out, it has turned kind of ugly, I would say. I mean, politics is always dirty, mudslinging or whatever, but there's a dimension of it that is kind of racist, I would say, and it's rearing its ugly head again. We're starting to hear some of the same stuff we heard when Obama was running the first time, you know. And these people, they say, they're not racist. Of course, they're not racist. You know, they're just making comments that are misconstrued as racist. you know, and it just so happened that those comments come, um, they align with other comments that go towards people of a different race. And then it's the misogyny also is also rearing its ugly head. You know, um, never had a female president, and you wonder why, with the talk that we've heard recently as a result of it looking like Kamala Harris could be the presumptive nominee for the Democrats and therefore have a chance at being the president of the United States, you know. So it is what it is. The DEI comments are really getting on my nerves, like, because it doesn't even make sense. If you're gonna have derogatory statements, at least let them make sense. you know I don't like those terms when they don't even apply, like when you say someone is ignorant or stupid or whatever, and these people went to school and have an education, you know, and you barely made it out the 12th grade and you're saying that these people are dumb. It is what it is, man. The other thing is some weird comments that JD Vance made has come out. So, whenever you're on the political stage in a national election, everything that you've done in the past is going to be dug through with a fine tooth comb. And if they could find anything, they're going to find it and they're going to use it against you. So, and Netanyahu addressed Congress this week. One of the comments that he made that bothers me a lot is he said that Iran is funding the protesters. He said there's a number of protesters outside right now, and they're being funded by Iran. And it's like, what evidence do you have to support that? Could it be that people, United States citizens, really just protesting on their own without any funding, you know, or they're funding themselves or whatever? Could that be the case? It's like, no, there's no way that can be, because the United States people support Netanyahu, you know. But it's like, maybe Congress supports Netanyahu, but the American people, maybe not so much. Can y'all hear me? Congress supports him. Yeah, so that's where we are. Where do we start today? Let's look at some headlines. So, AP. Is this new? Top headline, it says FBI says Trump was indeed struck by bullet during assassination attempt. The FBI says former President Donald Trump was struck in the ear by a bullet during an assassination attempt on July 13th, as the agency moved forward to clarify what happened after nearly 2 weeks of confusion and conflicting accounts. Yeah, so you got the guy who was saying, we don't know if Trump was hit by a bullet or it could have been shrapnel or glass from the teleprompter or whatever. I don't know. We saw the video, we all saw the video, and how could it possibly be shrapnel? Like, it has to reflect or deflect, bounce off of something else. So what would that something else be in the vicinity of Trump when he was up there on the stage? You know, it's crazy that you don't know what's true and what's not nowadays, and then people don't even care what's true and what's not. And once you get a populace where there's no way for them to tell what's true and what's not, then you can motivate them to do atrocities. And I think that's where we are today, is people can justify their actions with some stuff that they pulled out of their butt, some stuff they heard from some random person on the internet or whatever, some doctored video or doctored images or whatever. you know it I mean, people are smart. I think they should use their intelligence, and their biases shouldn't be guiding their thoughts, if you will. I mean, you can't help but to be biased, but what I mean is, like, if you do some research, you don't do research to look for information to confirm what you already think or whatever, and you disregard the information that goes against what you already think. You do the research, and whatever it comes up, the conclusion that you come up with is the conclusion. And that's it, whether it goes with what you thought it was going to be or not, you know. And that's where education comes in. I think, people need to be more media literate, and people need to actually know how to do research, because these people say, oh, I did research. What, your research was watching a TikTok video or some YouTube videos or something, or a Wikipedia page? Like, that's not really research, bro. Like, if it was all just coming from your algorithm that was feeding you the stuff that you already believe in, that's not research, bro. That's not research. If it's opinions coming from talking heads in the media, that is not research. So, you want to cape for your side, you want to stand up for your side, then that's fine. Do that or whatever. But, the truth is the truth, regardless of how you feel about it. The truth don't care about your feelings. And the truth is, Donald Trump got shot. It happened. It's a real thing. Let's see. It says, live updates, Harris campaign heats up. Trump meets with Netanyahu. Another one, Barack and Michelle Obama endorsed Kamala Harris, giving her expected but crucial support. It took them long enough. Volunteers and donations surge into Democratic campaigns with Harris atop the ticket. Yeah, so Biden dropping out really helped the Democrats a lot. Like, you see this energy that you didn't see before for the Democratic Party. You couldn't barely get anyone at his rallies, just like Hillary Clinton couldn't pay people to attend those rallies. But now you see Kamala is campaigning, and she's got a lot of people at her rallies. I might come back to this. Let's do some I think there's a news story here. Let's do this and give myself a chance to warm up. I feel kind of off balance right now.
Authorities with guns drawn detaining Tracy Shepard and arresting her son Mark Crooms Friday evening at their home in Humble. It was Mark's 20th birthday.
They ain't even tell me right away that what I'm being arrested for. They waited till I got to the car and I asked myself, I said, what am I being arrested for? They said murder. And I was like, the murder of who? They slammed the door in my face.
Police arrested and charged Crooms with the murder of 19-year-old John Dennis Holmes III. Crooms was friends with him.
So what evidence did they say they had that led back to you?
They said my fingerprints was in his car. And like I told them, of course my fingerprints would be in his car because I was just with him
in John's car?
The same day.
Investigators found Holmes shot and killed 1 week ago in spring near the 300 block of Rapine Drive. I sat down with Shepard and she explained the same cameras that caught this video of her son's arrest also showed he was nowhere near the scene of the shooting. He was actually at home.
He went to go pick up something to eat probably around 6:27, 6:20-ish at McDonald's. He came back so you could see him on the camera getting out the car, pulling up. And after he ate his food, he decided to go outside and throw his trash away, which was at 6:43. John was murdered at 6:40 p.m. So how can he possibly be 17 miles away murdering someone?
Shepard says it wasn't until Monday that police reviewed the video. Crooms was released from jail and his charges. Surveillance footage shows authorities with guns drawn detaining Tracy Shepard and arresting her son Mark Crooms Friday evening.
Yeah, so man, those cameras are helpful as hell nowadays. Back in the days, he probably wouldn't have been able to beat this case. You know, what really bothers me is they railroad people all the time. You know, most cases get people plea out of most cases. They don't want to go to court. They don't want to spend the resources and the time. So they always put pressure on the people to, plea bargain, which essentially is them choosing to say they're guilty, no contest, if you will. And that's how they railroad people into prison. Those people, it's a lot of people, they're saying, I'm innocent or whatever. And you're like, well, you're in jail. You must have did something. Well, there's some cases where people are completely innocent and are in jail. So, that kind of goes along with the sympathy that people should have for people that are in prison, the ones that did commit crimes. Like, if they didn't have a capital crime. Most of the crimes are petty crimes, non-violent crimes. And you have situations like in Texas where they don't even have air conditions in the prison, and these people are getting baked to death. I was reading a story recently. It was I think it was in Louisiana, where it was a female who died from heat exhaustion from being in her cell, and this happened recently. And it's like, regardless of what these people went to, it's not a death penalty. They shouldn't be baked to death in their prison cell, and that's one of the reasons why I don't agree with capital punishment overall, because I don't trust the system to get it right, every time. They need to get it right every time if they're going to kill someone for a crime. And I really just don't trust the system to do that, especially when you have so much corruption and crooked folks and people that just want to make money and they're just railroading people into prison. The crime is not nearly as high as it seems when you're watching the TV. It makes you seem like it's just crime rampant left and right. And it justifies building all of these prisons and keeping them filled. They need to find bodies to fill those cells, and they don't care if these people are guilty of anything. If they could get them into the system, then good. They're accomplishing their goal. They're making money, and that's really what it's all about. And that's why you have all these private prisons. It's the prison industrial complex is big, big, big money. These communities where they build the prisons tend to be out in the middle of nowhere, and these areas, they don't have any other income. So it's like the only place to work is at the prison. So it's like these prisons support the economies of these rural folks. And the majority of the people in the prison are, you know, black and brown folks. So there's definitely a racial component to it. Let me read the caption. It says, 19-year-old Montgomery County man accused of friend's murder was released after home security footage proved him innocent. Comments, it says, we need to be honoring the inventor of the security camera, Marie Van Britton Brown, a black woman. Another one, thank God for cameras. These cops are so quick to jump and blame the innocent. Let's see. Another comment says, remember, Trump wants to give police officers full immunity. You know, and there's a case that's been going around that I haven't covered, purposely been avoiding it. The lady who got shot in the face, where they said he was going to throw some hot water on the cop or whatever. You know, and those cases really just get me really emotional. So that's the reason why I don't cover them so much. It's not that I don't think that they matter, because they do. It's just that I don't have the emotional capacity to cover those when they happen, you know. Giving the police full immunity or whatever, you know, that's the problem. The problem is that these cops, these police officers don't get held accountable enough. And that's the reason why they feel emboldened to do these things. You know, they feel like they could have got away with it. That guy, he didn't have his body cam on. The footage that we got was from his partner's body cam, which he had his on. And now if that wasn't the case, then we know what would have happened with this particular case. So this guy, he got charged with murder. He got fired and charged with capital murder, you know, as a result of them viewing that video. So, but if they didn't have that video, what do you think would have happened? He would have said, you know, I feared for my life. My life was in danger. I had to do what I had to do. And he would have got off to go on and do it again to someone else. Another comment says, this child will be fighting a murder charge right now and will probably be found guilty if it weren't for those cameras. I know his poor mother said, this is why I tell you to stay in the house. You know, it's good that those cameras, man, they can catch you so easy with cases. Like, you know, if it's his friend, of course he's going to have fingerprints in the guy's car. Like, they ride around in the car together, you know, and that would have been enough to convict him. For sure, it would have been, if it wasn't for these cameras. Sometimes they just want somebody, like, they don't care if the person is guilty or not. They just need somebody to be held accountable, you know, to make it look like they're doing their job. They're obviously not doing a good enough job when they're arresting somebody based on some loose evidence of them having fingerprints in the car. Like, that's enough to arrest a guy for murder? Like, what other evidence did you have to corroborate this? More comments. It says, I'm convinced the cops killed his friend and tried to pin it on him. Ooh. Another comment says, everybody black need a damn camera. Another one, do they even investigate at all or just pick on random black people? Shaking my head. What a failed system. Yeah, what kind of investigation did they really do? Another comment says, can't imagine before cameras how many innocent black men in jail and even had the death penalty. When is change gonna come? Wow. Another one, so police don't do a thorough investigation before they arrest and charge people anymore? Another one that says, people keep underestimating these cameras. Every home should have some kind of monitoring. I'm a little out of it today. Forgive me. So yeah, Kamala Harris and Obama. Let's play this.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder. to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. Michelle, Brock, this means so much to me. I'm looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
I wonder, was that a real phone call? Anyways, Michelle Obama posted this. It says, earlier this week, we called our friend and told her that we think she'd make a fantastic president of the United States. We're proud to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris to be our Democratic nominee. Let's go make history again. Yeah. I don't know. Why is this endorsement so important is a good question. And, you know, why did it take Obama so long to come out and say, you know, he supported her? Because it's been a while already since Biden dropped out. And it may have to do with all of the energy that got put into Kamala Harris afterwards. And maybe they wasn't really expecting it. And all of the money that she raised and all of this. So it's like, well, we don't have any choice at this point. She's become her own thing. Comments, it says, respectfully, is there an option for you, Miss Obama, to be VP? I don't think so. Another comment says, love that the Obamas were patient in their endorsement. Now let's go to work. Elect VP Kamala Harris, our first woman president. It says, love that they were patient. Yeah. I don't know about that. I think there was stuff going on behind the scenes, and that's the reason why they didn't endorse her right away. People were saying the whole time it was Obama and Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, who were pulling the strings related to Biden dropping out. So maybe they were looking for their own replacement or whatever. But things happen the way that they happen, and now they don't really have much choice. Because I don't think we've heard a Nancy Pelosi endorsement yet. I haven't heard that yet. It says Barack and Michelle Obama endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris' presidential bid in a video released Friday. Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do anything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office. The former president told Harris on a phone call joined by his wife, according to the video. I think it kind of tells you who's running the show or who has a lot of influence in this situation, you know. Yeah. And it's not always the people who, you know, you chose to, you know, that you voted for. Electoral politics having to not having much to do with what the voters say. And the part where the Republicans are saying that this is not a very democratic process, I would have to agree with that sentiment. You know, I think there's some truth to that, given that the people didn't select VP Kamala Harris to be their nominee for the Democratic Party. And it won't happen. And you're just going to have the party insiders who's going to make these decisions, you know? The, what do you call them? Why can't I think of what you call them? The people that's going to be at the convention, the delegates. The delegates are going to be the one that makes the decision. Now, and in some cases, these delegates weren't chosen by the people either. It's like party insiders. My buddy, my cousin, my friend. Comments that says, educated and legal Latinos for Trump. Another comment, it says, Kamala just captured the biggest endorsement of all time. Go home, Trump. Another one, keep in mind what Obama did to America, Trump 2024. Another comment, we voting for her. Another one, well, you know, if the parents agree, I'm with the fam. Another one, we're voting Trump, America first, make America great again. Yeah, and the campaign slogan, like, I'm not sure if it's going to be a slogan, but I saw a clip where she was like, how did she say it? We're not going back, something like that. And I think that's the perfect little balance to the MAGA, you know, make America great again. And then the balance is we're not going back, something like that. I think a perfect little rebuttal. So you choose which side that you want to be on. The side that wants to return to the past, America's past, or the side that wants to, you know, move into the future. Another comment says Trump for president 2024. Another one, Democrats should start from learning how brutally murderous Obama was and how harsh he was with the illegal immigrants. You license from your side for anything unconditionally, and you were supporting Biden until yesterday. You do not have good judgment. Trump 2024. She's got my vote, the votes of my family and friends. Let's go, Harris 2024. These comments are on both sides. Another comment, Trump Vance 2024, make America great again. Kamala 2024 for president. Trump 2024 for president. I don't know how long I'm going to stay on today. Let's just go through these randomly. And we're going to jump around a bit. So this one, Houston Fire Chief Sam Pena is out. Mayor Whitmer tells ABC 13. So yeah, remember Whitmer was talking about during the hurricane how it was ridiculous that you had fire stations who didn't have working generators. And I agree with Whitmer. That is all the way over the top ridiculous for, you know, the institutions that are supposed to help you during disasters can't even help themselves because they don't even have working generators. You're sitting there without power. Like, that's all the way ridiculous. And Whitmer was making excuses, talking about, I inherited this situation, da da da. So I guess this is his answer. He's like, you know, somebody's head has to roll. Like, why the hell y'all didn't have working generators during the hurricane? Like, how did you let that happen? So who's ever in charge, he's got to go. It says Houston Mayor John Whitmer confirms to ABC 13 that Houston Fire Chief Sam Pena is out, and OEM Director Tom Munoz will be the next chief. Yeah, so you know, so we've had a new mayor, we have a new fire chief now, and we also have a new police chief. I don't know if they named that guy the new police chief yet. The other guy I think is acting police chief. I'm not sure about that, but yeah. And I was reading a newspaper article about you know, our previous police chief and him saying, you know, he the one who brought to light this situation where they were not investigating crimes and putting that they didn't have enough personnel. It was like a file, you know, code. It was a code that they were using to not investigate certain crimes, and they would call it you know, no personnel, or like, we don't have the personnel to do this investigation or whatever. It was like a code they were using. And he said that he was the one who brought that to attention and how widespread it was and so forth and so on. He's been quiet since they basically forced him to retire because of the scandal related to like, it was like 200,000 cases that they weren't investigating. They were putting into this file. and they got rid of his top two guys that were right underneath him. They got rid of them right away, and then a little while later, they forced him to retire. So it's the corruption, it's the shadiness, the Houston Police Department, the Houston Fire Department, you know, yeah. So I don't know if this stuff is really getting cleaned up enough at all, but hopefully it's happening because Houston is really really large city and there's a lot of money coming in here. So you ask the question, where's the money going? And then you had the pressure on the Centerpoint Energy. The They're gonna keep on putting pressure on this guy, and he made excuses or whatever, but it looks like he still has his job. They haven't got him out of there yet. They're saying, he didn't handle the situation of the hurricane good enough to restore power to all of these people. But at the same time, I have to give this guy a bit of a break because I think the real problem is Centerpoint Energy is too big. It has too much on its plate. It needs to be broken up into smaller companies. They have a monopoly in the Houston area, and they clearly can't handle it. So, don't blame them for not necessarily getting the job done good enough, but just say that they have too much on their plate and you know divvy up those responsibilities. Um, Delegate those responsibilities. I think the same is true related to the police department. So when people talk about defund the police, and people, it's a terrible term that gets used improperly, but the ones who have good intentions, when they say defund the police, they're talking about busting up the responsibilities, delegating the responsibilities of the police. How many times, like the lady who got shot in the face, well, that's not a good example. You have the ones where it's like a wellness check or whatever, and then it ends up being the police killing the people in there or whatever. Like it gets escalated when it was just a wellness check. Like, you don't need some guys showing up with guns in every situation. Sometimes you need like a counselor or whatever, or maybe you just need the fire department or whatever, EMTs or whatever. Like, you don't need the police to show up to all of these calls. They get too many calls. They have too much stuff they have to deal with: domestic disturbances, murders, burglaries, you know, um, regular just violence, fights. Like, it's too much stuff for the police to have to deal with, I think. So I think that those 911 calls should be routed to different agencies depending on what the call is. And, the worst situations, the ones where you need to protect people and property or whatever, those are the ones where the actual police show up. And when it's not a situation where property or people, is in jeopardy, you know, like there's imminent danger, then someone else should show up to help, you know. And I'm sure there's lots of folks out there would love to have those jobs. We don't like to pay those social workers anything and don't like to respect them or whatever, but the work that they do is life changing and life saving time and time again. So we need to learn how to respect those people, and we need to learn how to incorporate them into the job that the police department does. And the police department can defer or delegate their responsibilities to folks who went to school for this type of stuff. Like if it's like a suicide type of deal, someone who's having a mental health crisis, someone who has another kind of debilitating mental disorder or something. You need somebody who knows psychology, somebody who went to school for this stuff to deal with this situation, not some guys with guns who are trained to shoot people. I think this is common sense. And I think at some point, that's the direction that things are going to go in. But people love to hold on to these ideas of, and you know what it really is? It's really about money, because these police departments have bloated budgets, and they have to justify their budgets year after year after year, and we need more police officers, and we need guys doing overtime and so forth and so on. There's so much crime. But if you just break up these responsibilities, then you won't have an excuse to say that you need more money for these police. Also, the way that the media covers the crime, that it's a crime spree in every damn city, and murders, crazy murders in every city, but you go around and you go outside and you look around yourself and you don't see evidence to support this. And then when you look at the data, the actual data, the data shows that the crime has been decreasing over time. But let the media, the news just want clicks. So if it bleeds, it leads. Violent crime, murders, burglaries, that's what they're going to cover. And then they cover these stories over and over and over again from different angles. And it makes it seem like there's more crime than there really is. And that's the politics working together with the media to lead people down a certain road so that they can just keep on getting their gravy train. It's so much corruption. The politicians are just making money hand over fist. The corporations are making money hand over fist. The bloated police budgets, money hand over fist. You'd be surprised in a city like Houston how much some of these police officers are getting paid. Now, not all of them are getting paid, a lot, but some of these, and I'm not knocking anybody's hustle. I'm not, you're good at what you do. You deserve your salary or whatever, but there's some budgets that aren't justifiable. These people are just hanging out all day, every day. It says Houston Mayor John Whitmer confirms to ABC 13 that Houston Fire Chief Sam Pena is out, and OEM Director Tom Nunez will be the next chief. Comments, it says, he's definitely cleaning house. Get this HSD maniac out of our schools. I don't know that. I don't know how much power the mayor has over who is the superintendent of the schools. So yeah, I don't know how much we like Mike Miles here in Houston and how successful he has been so far. And I don't know how successful he was before when he came from, I want to say, the Dallas area, But what I've been saying for the longest is I don't think that they want the public schools to be successful, and they're setting them up for failure so that the private schools can come in and get that money. And the parents are like, the public schools suck, so I'm not putting my kids in the public schools, so I'm going to homeschool them, or I'm going to put them in private schools. So boom, there goes the money. Having people on a level playing field where there's a public school that's decent and everybody can get a decent education. I think it also has to do with, the integration, that happened. This is like de-integration that's happening, and it's been happening over time, because in those private schools, it's a majority of a certain ethnic group that are in these schools, and then that leaves the majority of a different ethnic group being in the inner city public schools. So it's segregation all over again. They're not calling it that, but look at it for what it is. It is what it is. It's like separate but not equal. Comments, it says Mayor Whitmer is cleaning house. My opinion, he should try getting rid of Judge Lena Hidalgo. Again, there goes another jurisdiction that's out of, that's not his power. He's the mayor. The judges get elected here in Texas, and you can't oust a judge. I don't understand why people hate her anyways. Another comment says, when is Hidalgo going? Another comment says, I've never seen so many people complain about Houston being so bad. Move, pack up and go. Another comment says, so he made a big deal about getting them paid and then you fire him? Yeah, it's a lot more happening than being said. Yeah, so when he came in, he was talking about, that the firefighters are being underpaid. And I want to say they did get their pay increase. So, and I think it is more going on than what appears to be. But at the same time, Whitmer is right when he says there's no excuse for them to not have working generators during a hurricane. Like, who made that decision? Who didn't keep up with those generators? What the F? Like, there's no excuse. Another comment says, you people have no clue to John Whitmer is. That man do not play. He gonna make Houston a better place. I promise you. He don't do the favor one side. He gonna smash both sides when they're wrong. He comes across as pretty genuine. He came to the restaurant, where I work at. A lot of important people. The police chief used to come all the time when he was police chief. I haven't seen him since he retired, but a lot of people come through the restaurant that I work at. Jeff Bagwell comes through all the time. The top lawyers in the city, they come through all the time. The people who do the news, they come through all the time. Another comment says, let's remove all the people of color from leadership roles. That's basically what I'm seeing. Now, that don't work. He replaced him with, what was the guy's name? Munoz. Yeah, so Tom Munoz, I'm willing to bet that guy is the same ethnic demographic that Sam Pena is. So that doesn't work. So, but the trend is, DEI hire. And that's what they're calling Kamala Harris, calling her DEI hire. And then that stuff really pisses me off. And like the lady who was the Secret Service, the chief of the Secret Service, they called her a DEI hire. And she resigned. There was so much pressure on her. I guess they told her she had to go. In those kinds of jobs, it's always like, they didn't get fired, they resigned or whatever, but they really got fired, but they resigned and they get to retain their pensions and their 401ks and other benefits or whatever, but they're going to be looking for a new job. And then when you get fired or forced to resign in those kinds of situations, it may be difficult for you to find another job in the same capacity as the one that you just lost, which is unfortunate because I think that she was a scapegoat. They did mess up, the Trump was shot, and you have one job, and that job is to protect Trump from getting hurt, and you didn't succeed in that. So that part is true. And whenever you're in charge, everything is your fault. So it is what it is at the end of the day. But the part where they talk about she's a DEI hire because she's a woman, and it's like, that pisses me off. Another comment says, so Mayor Turner was right all along about this guy. Another comment, Whitmer acts on personal vendetta, no good for the people of Houston. Another one, this mayor is up to something other than his sworn in duties. Something ain't right, folks. Well, if it's true, it's going to come out. It's been a lot going on in Houston. A lot. Another comment that says, wait, that's not Pete Davidson. Jokes. Another one, no electricity for 2 weeks, but Centerpoint next bill will be doubled. Corruption. Well, my bill actually went down a little bit. I just got my new bill. So another comment says, can whoever fix these traffic lights a drop of water and they end up not working? Yeah, I don't know what the hell, man. There's a traffic light. I went to the library to work on getting a passport for my daughter, and I had an appointment like 2 weeks ago and went there, and the traffic light was out. And then I went again just the other day, and that same traffic light is still blinking. And it's kind of in the hood area, and that's what I think is the reason why, maybe no one has notified the authorities that the light is out, or it's not a priority. I wonder. It says we charge Gavin Newsom with war on the poor crimes. We charge Gavin Newsom with war on the poor. Newsom demands statewide clearing of all houseless bodies to nowhere. Houseless Californians and advocates respond with a criminal charge. I would ask the question, where are all the unhoused people going to go? Why are you criminalizing people for not making enough money to pay their rent? How is this going to make anything better? And there are not enough shelter beds in California to put everyone who wants to sleep in a shelter. Who are you looking out for? John Genesacco. It says, this morning, the last remaining community members of Atna Street, a houseless community in occupied Tovanger, aka so-called Los Angeles, were giving orders for their removal and destruction of their homes and arrest if they refuse to comply. These orders come directly from Gavin Newsom, who issued an executive order to Californian officials to remove homeless encampments from public state-owned land. What happens to our community when they are removed from the public? They are forced underground to places where they are no longer visible or detectable. This is a forced removal policy in order to disappear the visible site of poverty, said Atna Street Solidarity. Governor Gavin Newsom, if you are enforcing an unjust law lying in public, then you are complicit with killing the most vulnerable people in this country. Most unhoused folks are highly traumatized people, survivors of sexual violence, veterans, and elders unable to pay the high and immoral rents in California. We, houseless, disabled, swept, terrorized residents of California at Poor Magazine and Housefulness charge Pulitzer Newsom with war on the poor, crimes for the deaths that have already resulted from the violence sweeping, removing, evicting, and arresting. Find the whole stay on poormagazine.org. Yeah, I think a lot of this is just all talk, So Gavin Newsom was like, we got to get rid of all of the homeless people off the street. And I sympathize with him. I don't know how exactly you're going to pull it off, but I definitely sympathize with him trying to get that done. So then, being that it is California and as emotional and over the top as these people tend to be in California, they're like, we want him arrested or whatever. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I do sympathize with the homeless folks. They need to, if they're going to remove them, they need to give them some place to go. I don't know. That story kept popping up. I'm not going to spend much time on that.
Fact that you can't go into a lot of depth. You are, though, one of only a couple of women on the list of candidates. The rest of them are men. This nation has never elected a woman president. Do you think voters, particularly male voters, are ready to see two women on the same ticket?
Absolutely. Look, I think the American people are ready for the team that can lead. whoever that is, regardless of, gender or race or background. Well, as you just said, I've run a business. I've run a state for 2 terms. I now run a huge agency. I'm an executive. Any executive knows if you want to get the job done, you hire the right people in the right spots at the right time to get it done. And the American people are looking for action. They're yearning for leadership to solve their problems. And I think they'll get behind who they can trust to fight for them and to put their interests first and get the job done.
I respect the fact that you can't go into a lot of depth. You are, though, one of only a couple of women on the list of candidates. The rest of them are men. This nation has never elected a woman president. Do you think voters, particularly male voters, are ready to see 2 women on the same ticket?
Absolutely.
No, I don't think that they're ready to see 2 women on the ticket. And I think if the Democrats want to have a good chance of women winning, they need to put a male as the VP. And not feelings completely aside, what's right and what's wrong is one thing, and what's going to work and be successful sometimes is a totally other thing. So I think that it would be better for the Democrats. They will have a better chance of winning if they put a dude in the VP. And the VP needs to not be, a person of color also. I mean, again, I'm just saying this from the perspective of, politics. It will be a more balanced ticket, and I think it's really likely to be a white dude. So it's identity politics on steroids, and you can't help but to react to identity politics with identity. Using identity, because how else can you combat identity politics other than using identity? So the arguments against having a woman or a woman of color at the head of the ticket, the balance to that is by putting a non-woman of color on the VP side. I mean, like it, love it, leave it, fuck it. I mean, it's unfortunate. These are the times that we're in, and they want to win. So if they want to win, I always say the Democrats get paid to lose, so they may not want to win at all. So maybe if they don't want to win, go ahead and put 2 women on the ticket. So CBS News, it says Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo is one of about a dozen individuals Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign is vetting for vice president. When asked if voters are ready to see 2 women on the same presidential ticket, absolutely, she says. So, yeah, I don't know. We haven't elected a woman president. There hasn't been a woman president ever in United States history. So there's definitely a reason for that. It's not that women aren't qualified, to be the president. There's other reasons, and so, but then calling them a DEI and saying that they're not, they don't have the credentials or capabilities, and on what basis do you come to that conclusion? Is it just because they're a woman? And then it's the same thing, given that, it's been white men who have been president the whole time, other than Obama. I would say Obama's pretty damn white. If you know what it means to be white, you probably know what I mean when I say that. So, but at the same time, there's a reason why there hasn't been a woman. It's the same reason why there hasn't been a person of color other than Obama been up there. And it's not because of what they're saying as far as credentials. So there was no person historically in the whole history of the United States, there was no person of color who had the credentials to be the president. This is what you're saying. And that's what justifies the reason why there wasn't a person of color this whole time. So then what other reason would you have? It's like, it's not racism, right? comment. So it's like, and then just that question alone is loaded. Are voters ready to see two women on the same presidential ticket? Like, what? Why would you have that question? What does that mean? And that's the racism and misogyny on display. And I think that that's what's happening with this. And it's kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about today was this theme of racism and misogyny coming out and rearing its ugly head again and again, and people trying to explain it away. But they can't do it. And it's going to continue, and it's going to get more blatant and more blatant with all the comments that they're making about Kamala Harris. Like, you cannot I don't like Kamala Harris. I don't think that she really deserves to be where she's at, but things happen. It is what it is. But as the comments that people are making, that she's ignorant, that she's a DEI hire, that kind of stuff, mispronouncing her name on purpose, saying that she wasn't born in the United States, all of this stuff is the same stuff that they said about Obama. And then it's like, was it meritless? Did it have merit? Was it justified? Or did it come from a hateful place? And the people that accept this stuff, who take it in because they want an excuse for their racism. And they want to say that it's not racism, it's just that she wasn't born here or whatever. Like, but you don't have any evidence to support that. And actually the evidence goes against that, but you want to believe it anyways to give you a reason to not like her or to say that she isn't qualified or whatever. Comments. It says Americans are ready for the team that can lead Trump-Vance 2024. Another one. There goes no DEI hire. See, there goes the comment again. No DEI hire. So I guess she's a woman, so she's a DEI automatically. Any women or people of color, if they get into a leadership position, it's because of DEI. It has nothing to do with their credentials or background or work ethic or knowledge. It's just because, they need to reach these quotas. It really pisses me off because, like I said, they said the same thing about the lady who was the Secret Service chief or whatever. And it's like, God, you think that these people, how the people who do the hiring of like a Secret Service police chief, they're just going to be like, there's only one of them, right? There's only one. So you're reaching a quota because there's only one of them. So we need to hire a woman to reach our quota for DEI. The chief of the agency needs to be a woman so that we can reach our DEI quotas. Like, come the F on, man. Where is the logic? If you make those comments, at least make them logically based. Comments that says, no, they are not. That's reality. They also can't handle two non-white people on the same ticket. Jesus Christ, they can't even handle books about Black people in some states. Another comment, I like Gina a lot, but I'm not sure America is ready for two women on the ticket. Another comment, it says, the team to lead is Trump-Vance, followed by 8 years of Vance and whomever he picks. Another comment, it says, the men or the women, to me, it really doesn't matter as long as they can and do the kinds of the jobs that the people voted for them to do, folks. That's what it really comes down to. Like, what are their policies? What do they stand for? What are they trying to accomplish? What do they care about? What's important to them? What future for the United States do they envision? These are the questions instead of, are they a DEI hire? Are they a woman? Are they a man? Are they a person of color? Like, what's really important here? You know, it's the image. The image is more important than what the policies are, you know? So as long as the image of the person is the image that you want, and they could be bringing United States into the gutter, you know, making decisions that affect your life negatively, you're okay with that as long as the image of them is, you approve of their image. Like, that is crazy. That is insane. It says, oh, wait, thought all of the solving of all these problems will be fixed with Biden when they elected him. Well, you know, that's why I kind of hope Trump wins so that, you know, we could say the same thing when Trump wins, because Trump is supposed to save the country. He's supposed to save the world. He's the Messiah. You know, everybody's going to have money in their bank accounts. Everybody's going to be singing Kumbaya. The border's going to be closed, and you will no longer have a migration crisis or immigration crisis. You know, the economy's going to skyrocket. You know, inflation is going to flatline. You know, China is going to no longer be a power in the world. You know, Russia is going to stop its aggression on Ukraine. There's going to be peace in the Middle East. You know, all of this as a result of Trump being president. So let's see. Let's see if any of that happens. Comment, it says, yes, it's time. We can't wait because we might not get another chance. Another one, yes, 2 women. Another one, we are ready for this country to have a woman at the helm. Let us show these men how it should be done. Women power. Another one, the mainstream media is government propaganda. Another one, not too sure that most Americans are looking to government leaders to their problems. I believe we are looking for our leadership to stop effing shite up for our country. You know, and at the end of the day, that's the reason, like, I kind of like this comment, because at the end of the day, where they're saying like Trump is going to come and save us, no, he's not, bro. Like, you have to improve your life. You have to take on some personal accountability. Okay, Trump is not going to save you. Biden's not going to save you. Harris is not going to save you. The Democrats are not going to save you. The Republicans are not going to save you. It's not going to happen. And if as long as you continue to think that the next boss is going to be different from the old boss, and things are going to actually change in your life as a result of electoral politics, especially on the national stage for your local community, you are going to keep on being disappointed. You're going to keep on not getting what you are looking for. I put a comment in the group chat that I want to read because it goes along with what we're talking about here. This one, and I'm talking about Trump. It says, I kind of hope he wins because then we can ask, did he save America? From what? Will we continue to have domestic terrorism? It says, we will continue to have domestic terrorism. We will continue to have migration. The border will not be secure. Healthcare will continue to suck, and we will continue to have a crumbling infrastructure, and most people will continue to be in poverty or living check to check. If the Democrats win, maybe things will be a little better for women and reproductive health care, and maybe there will be a little more regulation of corporations and less tax cuts, and the IRS may collect some more taxes from wealthy people. But the everyday people lives will not change. Still poverty, still check to stack, still no health care. This one, it says, my position is that both sides suck. One maybe a little more than the other, but as long as we put our hopes in the next guy making things better, things will continue to be the same. We have to change the system. Ranked choice voting, money out of politics, even media coverage of candidates, reverse Citizens United, rein in lobbying, term limits for SCOTUS, rein in gerrymandering, make a voting holiday, make third parties viable. Basically, I'm saying that they win when we focus on one party or the other. We're pointing fingers that it's their fault that things are messed up. And if my party just gets in charge, things are going to change. The cycle continues. It's the illusion of choice. It's this hamster wheel that we're running on that never accomplishes anything. You know, as long as the system stays the same, then it's going to keep bubbling up these candidates like Trump, Vance, Biden, Harris, and things continue to be the same. The corporations continue to win. They continue to go out the back door with the bag. The richest folks continue to not pay any taxes. You know, we continue to not have health care. You know, our school systems continue to crumble. Our infrastructure continue to crumble. While these people are just making money, the American people continue to lose. As long as you keep looking at it like the next guy is going to make a difference. You know, they got the perfect little game going because it keeps swinging back and forth, the pendulum from the Democrats to Republicans, from the Republicans to the Democrats, and back again and back again. Oh, we'll just wait the next 4 years after we get these Republicans out of here, then things are going to be good. Oh, we're just going to wait. When we get these Democrats out of here, and the Republicans get back in, then we're going to be good. And that is the game. And then your life passes by and nothing ever changed and everything still sucked. Instead of focusing on the system that we have that leads to the outcomes that we have. Systems manage people, people manage systems. They create these systems to manage us, to lead us to the outcomes that we have. It's not a coincidence that it's so many people living check to check. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that the minimum wage hasn't gone up since the 90s. It's not a coincidence that deregulation has been the name of the game for decades now. And it's a free-for-all for these damn corporations. It's not a coincidence that these politicians are making so much money on the stock market. They go in to politics as a regular person and they come out super rich. And this is both sides. It's not a coincidence that these politicians, after they leave office, they become the CEO or CFO of one of these big corporations. It's not a coincidence that the legislation that gets put in front of Congress or the House is so beneficial to the corporations because they wrote them. None of this is going to change until you change the system. You get the big money out of politics. You fix the gerrymandering stuff. You don't allow the lobbying to the extent that we have. You know, you don't allow them politicians to trade stocks. You know, you put a cap on how much money is spent for these elections. Each election now is breaking records on the amount of money it costs to get elected. You know, if you spend some money, if you make an investment, you're expecting a return for that investment. Nobody gives money to somebody and don't expect anything in return. So what happens when these politicians receive these big, huge checks? What do you think they're going to do once they get in office? They're going to return favors to those people who gave them the big checks because they know that these same folks will just fund their opponent next time around if they don't play ball. Anyways, call me crazy.
Ninjas. They're not ninjas, white supremacists, Nazis, KKK sympathizers. Those are all fitting for the crew of a dozen men downtown Howell last weekend. I can sum it up in 2 words. Their messaging was white power. That was the only thing I heard them chant. Shannon Harvey lives a block away from the courthouse downtown where they were. She could hear them. Signs and megaphones and just generally disrupting the peace. They moved from the courthouse to the library. Then it all dismantled and they went home, out of towners, of course. Was very surprised to hear the type of language they were using downtown. It's something that you don't hear here often. But there is likely a reason they chose Howell. A top leader of the KKK, Robert Miles, held cross burnings and rallies nearby in the 1960s. He's since passed. Howell's mayor, Bob Ellis, says it's an image the town has worked hard to shake.
I think it's almost a generational thing that we need to prove who we are every day.
And stuff like this sure does not help. Kind of like ninjas. They're not ninjas, white supremacists, Nazis, KKK sympathizers. Those are all fitting for the crew of a dozen men downtown Howell last weekend. I can sum it up in 2 words. Their messaging was white power. That was.
So, and it's funny to me how they use the term ninjas. And then you heard in the clip where they said, we love Trump and we love Hitler and we love Trump. You know, not to say that all of the Make America Great crowd agrees with this, but there's a segment of that crowd that does agree with this, and they're very loud. And if I was in the crowd of the Make America Great Again, I would definitely want some degrees of separation between me and these folks who think like this. And I don't think that they're putting enough effort in separating themselves from these people, you know. And you have to ask yourself why. Why is that the case? And then you have the blacks for Trump and the people who are saying, Trump may not be racist. We could say he's not or whatever. The policies that Biden, he has a legacy of doing some things that weren't good for black people and other minorities. And Kamala Harris too. She also, from her history of being a district attorney in California, she also has a history of doing some things that weren't good for black folks. So policy is what you want to focus on and not personality or whatever. But at the same time, with Trump being who he is, the people who support him may not agree with Trump on everything. You know what I mean? I think that Trump is a useful tool. He's a tool for people to get things done that they've been trying to get done for decades, and they finally got their shot, and they're making it happen. These people don't give up, and this is what I really want people to focus on: is that these people don't care if it's the Democrats or the Republicans. These people don't care if it's Trump or Kamala Harris. They gonna get done what they want to get done, regardless of who is there, and the system allows that. Because money is power. Money it makes your vote non-sequential. Your individual vote compared to some guy who has millions of dollars to throw around behind whatever politician he wants to support is way more powerful than your vote is. And as long as that's the situation, then things are, these people get what they want to get done. You just complain and you feel like you're empowered with your vote. And it's a pacifier. Your vote is a pacifier. It's something for you to suck on. They make you feel like you're doing something. They give you a sticker. Gold star for Marcus. I voted today. I exercised my constitutional right or whatever. I made my voice heard. So good job. You did a good job. Now go back home to your check-to-check job and your lack of health care and your price gouging corporations and go to the grocery store and pay for this overpriced goods. The details: July 22nd, 2024, white supremacists marched through the streets of Howell, Michigan. The story: America is a racist country. About a dozen masked white supremacists marched through downtown Howell on Saturday, July 20th, 2024, chanting white power and carrying signs with messages like White Lives Matter and End the War on White Children. The march began on the lawn of the town courthouse and ended at the Howell Carnegie Library. The group then made their way several miles eastward to the Liston Road I-96 overpass in Genoa Township, where they displayed Nazi and KKK flags over the side of the to be visible to traffic. There's also a video that shows them chanting, "We love Hitler, we love Trump." Howell, which is between Lansing and Detroit, has a long history of white supremacist activity. According to a statement by City of Howell, Howell police made contact with several of the demonstrators and confirmed that they came from as far away as Saginaw and Macomb counties, although one participant was believed to have come from nearby Fowlerville. Yeah, so man, if you live in that community, you don't want these people coming to your community, then make it hard for them, you know? There is a thing with free speech, and I support free speech. So if you want to say some racist, hateful stuff, then you have the right to do that. But you also have to deal with whatever consequences come as a result of that. That's the reason why these people tend to cover their face, you know, and they get to talk behind their keyboards online, with their fake picture and weird name that they have. So they have an anonymity, And the comment above, where it's like they were saying in the politics, America is not a racist country, and I can go with that. I can go with that, but that doesn't mean that America isn't full of a bunch of racists. Okay, like the two can be true. You could say America is not a racist country, and you can also say that America has a whole bunch of racist folks in it. Okay, so saying America is not racist doesn't say that there's not a bunch of racist folks here, because there clearly is, without a doubt. Comments, it says, if this were another organization, the police would be there to break it up with extreme prejudice. Why is it over and over again these particular groups get to exercise the First Amendment rights, which is wholeheartedly support, but others get to get shut down and are treated violently? Can anybody tell me why? I have to say that's a very good question. When you say stuff that's not politically correct or whatever, it shows what's supported and what isn't. When people protest against sending money to Israel, and the cops come and bust it up. And so, but when you got people saying, Hitler this and Hitler that, and then the police don't come and bust them up, and then they're like, oh, well, it was nonviolent protesters, and the ones who were quote unquote supporting Hamas were violent or whatever. But then you have agitators who come in to those groups to make it look like it was violent, who create a violent atmosphere or whatever. So, but you don't have agitators showing up to make these people's situation look violent or whatever. And then if they do, then it's like, oh, it was Antifa who did it or whatever. They were the ones who were pretending to be Nazis or whatever, just to agitate people. It's like, come on, man. Another comment says, come to Compton one time, please. Yeah, they tend to go to these rural and middle of nowhere places to do this kind of stuff. Do it in the hood, bro. You gangster. You gangster. Come to the hood and do it. Another comment says, Donald J. Trump created this. You know, you can't give Trump credit for this. This stuff has been going on before Trump was on the scene. So, no, I don't agree with that. Another comment says, and we, the pro-Palestinian protesters, are the problem. Yep. Another comment, it says, but nobody paid them any attention and they left. Maybe the best way to deal with people like that is to completely ignore them. I don't know. If I'm in a rural community and you got outsiders coming in trying to make us look like we're racist or whatever, I think I would have a problem with that. Because now it makes us regular folks, like the people that live in that community who don't have the sentiments of these folks, it makes it look like, y'all are supporting this. So people are going to come to your city or town and they're going to be like, oh, so y'all are okay with these people coming and doing this in your town? Y'all must support this stuff. Comment, it says they do it because the government doesn't stop them. Another one, to be so powerful, they sure are afraid to show their faces. Another one, why the masks if they're so proud? Own it. Another one, it says that's who that town is. Another comment, they need to go touch some grass and get in touch with reality. Another comment says, so confused at Nikki Haley. How on earth did this happen when there's no racism here? Disturbing. They're talking about the Nikki Haley speech where she was saying, this is not a racist country. We've moved past the racism here. Okay. If you say so. I'm jumping around, but that's what we are today.
And is now in its 15th month. It's the world's largest displacement crisis. Famine is looming. Many hospitals have been obliterated. To see for ourselves, our team traveled to the city of Omdurman through checkpoints and sandstorms. We passed through cities defended by the military and armed civilians. When we got there, we found the burnt-out shop fronts of the main market and empty streets. As you can see on the ground, there's a lot of large caliber shells. Looks like this was very much the scene of some fierce fighting. Everything is devastated. Cars lying twisted, scraps of metal, all the windows blown out. In one abandoned neighborhood, we met 2 elderly survivors eking out a living next to a graveyard. In the hospitals, we met mothers whose children were starving or injured, who described their struggles to keep their families alive. We also visited the headquarters of the Sudan Broadcasting Corporation, where some of its offices had been turned into prison cells. The military told us that captives were tortured there. They say that these were used to tie up the prisoners. Makeshift graves could be seen outside of some abandoned homes. About 750,000 people are on the verge of starving to death, according to the UN, and more than 11 million have been forced to flee their homes. The war in Sudan is now in its 15th month. It's the world's largest displacement crisis. Famine is looming. Many hospitals have been obliterated. To see for ourselves, our team traveled to the city of Omdurman through checkpoints.
So, yeah, the conflict in Ukraine is not the only conflict that's going on in the world. And the conflict in Israel, Palestine is not the only conflict that's going on in the world. And the media gets to pick and choose which conflicts are more important, if you will, that that people care about or whatever, and I think it has a lot to do with certain demographics or power structures. The media creates these narratives that we all just kind of automatically fall into, and it's not fair is not what I'm trying to say. It's misleading is what it is. This is the reason why you have people who think that people who live in Africa all live in huts, clay, grass huts and stuff like that, and it's because of the way that the media portrays Africa as backwards and not progressive and not modern or whatever. It also has this narrative that these people aren't evolved, that they're lesser, if you will. So it's just certain human life has more value than others. And the media creates that narrative. Washington Post, it says, now in its 15th month, the war in Sudan is getting worse. The Rapid Support Forces paramilitary is advancing, capturing more territory and displacing millions of Sudanese, in turn fueling the world's largest hunger crisis. Famine looms. About 750,000 people are on the brink of starving to death. The United Nations says the United States estimates the war has already killed 150,000 people. A rare trip by Post journalists to 5 Sudanese cities reveals starvation, mass displacement, and acts of stunning heroism. Yeah, so, when something happens and people change their social media icon to like pray for Boston or whatever, cry for Ukraine or whatever it is, cry for Israel or whatever, certain countries never get that kind of support. And one thing about this is like the conflicts, like the United States tries to be like they're the police, the world's police or whatever, but certain conflicts they turn a blind eye to, and other conflicts they jump all the way in. And it's like, for me, how do you pick and choose which conflicts you want to get involved in? Of course it has to do with your personal, how you can benefit from that situation. Like, that's the logic of it all, but that's not how they sell this stuff. It's like we're doing it for democracy or whatever. But it's telling, because for me, if you're looking at it, make America great again and America first, then you want to focus on home first. And the conflicts that are happening around the world, you can let them people hash those out on their own. As harsh as that sounds, but that's not how they feel about certain people. Like I say, like Ukraine or Israel. It's like, let them hash that shit out on their own. Let them deal with that on their own. And the conclusions of what happens is on them. Why is it that we have to get involved in that, at the expense of the American people? When you got people over here suffering, and that's not your concern. Your concern is helping people over there somewhere. But then it's people all over the place that need help, but you choose certain places to help those folks, and other places you choose to let them deal with it on their own. I say let them all deal with it on their own. Once we get to the point where the American people have everything that they need, then we can start talking about helping other people. As an individual, it wouldn't make no sense for me to help others when I can't even provide for my children and myself. What sense would it make for me to, support, other families when I can't even support my own? Like the logic isn't there. Comments, it says, where's the coverage and where is the help? Another comment, we must talk about this too. Another comment, so where are all the university mass protests about this? Another comment, sanctions on UAE funding this. Well, what I would say about the part about the university mass protests, the protests were that our money is going to support a war that's leading to famine and genocide of a people, and specifically those universities have money involved in the conflict. Okay, so those university students are protesting that their university that they attend is spending money and benefiting, profiting from the situation that's happening overseas. So trying to say, where's the university protest about this when the universities don't have any connection to these people in Sudan on either side of the issue. So you're trying to make a connection, it's you're in an uneducated position to make this comment. You know, of course people aren't happy about stuff like this, but what can they say if their university isn't funding one side or the other in this conflict? Their university isn't benefiting one way or the other as a result of this conflict. The United States isn't funding one side or the other of this conflict. You get what I'm saying? So you can't say that. Like, another comment says sanctions on UAE funding this. Another comment, these are the stories that need to be covered. Another one, this is so heartbreaking. God, please help. Another one, God, protect these poor people. Another one, these are the stories that need to be covered. The media chooses what is important and what's not, what you should care about and what you shouldn't care about. And people just follow suit. And there goes the thing where we're talking about systems managed people. So the media is a system that manages people's outrage. It manages their sympathies. It manages their concerns. So if the media doesn't cover that, I guess I shouldn't be concerned about it. A couple more comments. It says, stop the war and make peace. It says, why is this not front page news throughout the world? See? Another comment, who buys and delivers the guns? Who is the one who benefits? Yep. Way bigger conflict than what's happening in Ukraine and Palestine combined. Let's do this one. How decline of Indian vultures led to 500,000 human deaths. So, like, we are a part of the system, the world system, the animal kingdom. Like, we are a part of it. We're not separate from it. And incidents like this should lead us to these conclusions to understand that, we are all connected. The organisms on the planet, from the plants to the animals, the microorganisms, the bacteria, all connected. Okay, so, and it's important to try to understand this. If you bring a animal from its native habitat and put it into a foreign habitat, then that can wreak havoc on that new area because that creature shouldn't be there. So it's like, why does this matter? Well, because if we care about ourselves and our future and being successful as a species, then we need to be aware of the impacts that we're having on the world and how it can come back and bite us. So this is an example of that, how it happens. So let's look at this. It says vultures are considered nature's sanitation service because of the important role they play in removing dead animals. The vulture collapse in India provides a particularly stark example of the type of hard to reverse and unpredictable cost to humans that can come from the loss of a species. So it's not showing it, but it was a disease that went around and caused a bunch of death. Okay, so it says 500. It says how the decline of Indian vultures led to 500,000 human deaths. So because the vultures weren't there to get rid of these bodies, the disease spread as a result of that and led to 500,000 human deaths. I thought it had the explanation in here, but it doesn't seem like it has. It says the unintentional decimation of the vultures allowed deadly bacteria and infections to proliferate, leading to the deaths of about 500,000 people over 5 years, a new study finds. Okay, so that kind of breaks it down a bit. So it's like, we have animals that we don't like. We don't like mosquitoes. They bother us. We don't like vultures. They're kind of gross looking, and they eat dead things or whatever. So for us, we can be like, man, just get rid of all of them. I don't even want to look at them. I don't want to deal with them. Just kill them, But then it comes back to bite us because we don't understand how all of the systems work together. So, it's kind of the same thing with us as humans. If one suffers, we all suffer type of deal. Like our walking by homeless people and pretending that they don't exist or whatever, and acting like it doesn't have an impact on us, but it does. Like there's countless ways that it impacts us, but one of them is health care and the amount that you pay for healthcare and your taxes and so forth and so on. It's actually cheaper. They've done studies that show this. It's cheaper to house these people than to leave them unhoused. And it's like, how could that possibly be? Well, people that are unhoused, they tend to go to the emergency room. They can't pay those bills. The emergency room has to cover the cost of those, that care. So how do they spread out that cost? They give it to you. So either directly or indirectly, you're paying for the homeless person to go to the doctor. And that's just one example. But we are so unaware of how things work together, and we're also so cruel to each other that we would prefer to suffer than to help others, because if we help these other people, then it helps us. I know it's not making sense. I apologize for that. Look it up. Call me crazy or look it up. It says the appropriate way to welcome the representative of your employer.
The Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
So this is Netanyahu coming to Congress, basically doing a State of the Union address. He got so many standing ovations. Lying and on top of lies. So it says United States of Israel, and it's showing a list of the money that these people receive from most likely AIPAC. So Nikki Haley, former ambassador to the United Nations, 1,550,000. Josh Hawley, 93,000. Mike Pence, 256,000. See, I can't read this. It's kind of small to me. Marco Rubio, over 1 million. Trump, over 1 million. Biden, it looks like 11 million. Tom Cotton, 237,000. Dan Crenshaw, 221,000. Cruz, both sides get support from these people. And what's crazy how many of these folks who have high positions in the government and they have joint citizenship between Israel and the United States, but they are representatives in the United States. And it's weird to me because you can ask the question, where is their loyalty? Are they loyal to the United States or are they loyal to Israel? They have joint citizenship and then they have high positions of authority in the United States government. It seems like there would be a conflict of interest there. And that's a story that no one ever covers. So it has like this little graphic here, 30 billion from the United States to Israel to AIPAC, 100 million to the United States Congress. So it's like one hand washes the other. But like, where's the money coming from? That they have healthcare in Israel, and we give them so much money every year, but we can't have healthcare in the United States. It seems like if we just didn't give all that money to the United States, then maybe we could have, to Israel, then maybe we could have healthcare here in the United States. They always say, where's the money going to come from? How are we going to pay for it? Well, maybe we could just stop giving so much money to Israel. Then maybe we could pay for it. Maybe we can have nice things here. So, but then it's like this little graphic is showing that it's like the United States funding its own little corruption, its own little, like, the influence that Israel has over Congress is funded by the United States government. Crazy thought right there. Nothing new under the sun. It says, wake up, Americans. You're run by a foreign entity. They are giving billions of your tax money away, and you are living from paycheck to paycheck. It's crazy that they can use, and that's the way the game goes, because the tax money doesn't benefit the American citizens for the most part. And so I can sympathize with people who don't want to pay their taxes, because it gets used for stuff like this, which undermines our government, which undermines the American people. If a foreign government was influencing elections here in the States, clearly they were funding it, influencing it, people would be outraged. Israel does it and no one bats an eye. Comments, it says, they will argue with you about it. Another comment, it says, you will be shown the door to hell once judgment day comes. Prepare yourselves. Another one, AI treasonous behavior, shameful, unrighteous, and devolved. Why does this guy come and talk to Congress time and time again? What is the point of that? What other country do we have that comes to Congress and talks to Congress? What other country does that? And in other countries, do they allow people, leaders from other countries to come and address their government? Like, that's such a weird dynamic. And people don't find this strange.
At a crossroads of history.
This was the fourth time that Netanyahu has spoken to Congress.
Our world is in upheaval.
A record for an outside leader. It was a very different kind of speech than some of the ones that we've seen before.
We must also find a way to forge a lasting peace with the Palestinians.
Because he was making it a moment of great national peril for Israel.
For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together.
Israel's international reputation is under greater strain, perhaps, than it ever has been. There is more criticism perhaps than there ever has been of Israel's conduct against the Palestinians. This was a big moment for Netanyahu to appeal to American politicians, but also, and maybe more importantly, an attempt to signal that he is still the man to defend Israel in the international arena. Netanyahu has a strong base of people that believe he is the best man to lead Israel. But there's also a large part of Israeli society that is deeply frustrated with Netanyahu, who believes that he is dragging out this war, dragging out negotiations for a ceasefire, because he's worried that a ceasefire would lead to the collapse of his right-wing coalition. And so, as much as there is division in America about Netanyahu's speech, there is also a large amount of division about him in Israel. This was an attempt to change the narrative.
America and Israel today can forge a security alliance in the Middle East to counter the growing Iranian threat.
He was essentially trying to do two things by bringing up Iran. One was to show to Americans that Israelis and Americans face a shared threat, that of Iran, but also in part to deflect slightly from the idea that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is one between two nations fighting over the same land, and instead one that is fomented by a foreign power.
The day after we defeat Hamas, a new Gaza can emerge.
He did not come with a great vision of peace between Israelis and Palestinians.
My vision for that day is of a demilitarized and de-radicalized Gaza.
He talked about a Gaza that would be demilitarized, run by civilian Gazans, but would not be part of a Palestinian state and would remain under some kind of Israeli military control. That was not what Palestinians want to hear. It was not what Israel's many critics want to hear, but it is what Netanyahu's base back home in Israel wants to hear, and to some extent, what many Israelis in general want to hear.
We meet today at a crossroads of history.
This was the fourth time that Netanyahu has spoken to Congress.
Our world is in upheaval.
A record for...
So New York Times, it says, in his fourth speech to Congress, a record for a foreign leader, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel attempted to change the narrative about the fallout from the war in Gaza. Patrick Kingsley, our journalism bureau chief, explains how Netanyahu used the speech to shift the focus to Iran and the threat it poses to Israel. Yeah, so, and he was all like, Iran is funding all of these people out there who's protesting. It's like, this guy just says stuff, no evidence to support it, and nobody checks him on it. Comments, it says, the lowest moment in American history, great job. Another one, he said nothing but lies. I was sickened. I couldn't even watch. Another comment, it says, why aren't you addressing the many lies in his speech? Are you for real? The guy said that there were practically no casualties, and you're giving me a cheap analysis of his pitching angles and what his home base thinks or wants. What the hell is wrong with you? Address the lies, debunk. It's your job. Another comment, this man has blood of thousands of people in his hands. He should not be allowed to justify his criminal actions in front of Congress. Another one, our country has been hijacked. Another comment, I have no interest in what he's got to say. Free Palestine and genocide. Another one, America loves genocide. The relationship between the United States and Israel is strange. It's really strange. And politically, it doesn't make any sense. Another comment says, standing ovations for genocide. Another one, this will be shown repeatedly in the future as one of the world's big failures. Another one, TLDR, lies, lies, standing ovation, lies, standing ovation, lies. And the New York Times, they are obfuscating or skirting around this. Like, everyone is afraid to do any good journalism related to Israel. Even the big paper like the New York Times. which is usually historically you would think they would be the ones that would do the story and actually tell the truth about it. You know, not to say that there wasn't any truth in this guy's reporting. It's just that he's dodging the elephant in the room. Another comment says, "This is a disgrace. You should be ashamed for applauding him." Another one, "Congress is dragging us into a dangerous precipice by discrediting the ICC and the ICJ." Yep. Yeah. They're going to pull us into a bigger war, I think. I think it's coming. The only way to avoid it is if we were to separate, create some degrees of separations between the United States and Israel. And I don't see it happening. Even Kamala Harris, she's giving she's playing politics because on one hand, she's all like, it needs to come to an end. We need a ceasefire, da 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 da. And then on the other hand, she's supporting Netanyahu. And she was like, she released a statement saying that, the protesters were Hamas supporters. So these people who are out there who have a problem with the war in Israel are Hamas supporters. And that's basically repeating the stuff that Netanyahu says. So, yeah, I don't think that Harris is going to be different on this Israel-Palestine situation. I don't think she's going to be different than Biden. And I don't think Trump will be either. So the situation will continue to be the same regardless of which one of those would win. And it's sad because if the Democrats, and it's a golden opportunity for the Democrats to separate themselves, from others on this topic, and it would be enough for the Democrats to win. I think they would win if they would do that. But the results of it is too risky for them. They want to play it safe, and the connections between the United States and Israel is too strong, for the Democrats to make a stand. So it's not going to happen from what I can see. Couple more comments. It says, "This man has higher approval ratings among American Republicans than he does among Israelis living in Israel." Another one, "Stop explicating the genocide speech and start fact checking. Absolutely shameful. This is our paper of record." One more, it says, "Whose idea was it to have this man who was slaughtering Palestinians come to the U.S. and talk before Congress?" It was a weird story I read about how Netanyahu brings his dirty clothes. He brings his every time he comes to the United States, he brings suitcases and bags of dirty clothes to be washed by the White House staff. And so the White House staff has a service for whoever comes and stays, and they do their laundry. But generally, it's for the clothes that they have for the trip, like the clothes that they're wearing, for them and their family members or whatever. But Netanyahu takes advantage of the situation and brings dirty clothes. And it's such a weird thing to do. And I think it's symbolic. It's like, it shows that they look down on the United States. Like, come do my laundry. Like, you're my freaking laundry man or woman. Like, you're my maid. Wash my clothes for me. Like, that's so weird to bring dirty clothes to the White House for them to wash. Like, that is so strange. Like, I'm sure he has people to do it in Israel for him. So why the hell would he bring his dirty clothes to the United States for them to clean it? Y'all look up that story. It's so weird. Like I say, I think it's symbolic. You guys are lesser than me, and I'm going to prove it by making you do my laundry.
Everywhere we go, people wanna know. The
genocide on Palestine is unacceptable, and as a Jew, I cannot let it happen in our name.
I was born in occupied Palestine. My father was in the Haganah. My mother was in the Irgun. I was raised to be an Israeli soldier, but I learned to decolonize my mind, and that's what we need to do because they own our minds.
If they keep inviting war criminals and people that are committing genocide, the people of the U.S. are not going to support them. As you can see here, it's not just Palestinian people, it's not just Muslim people, it's all of America standing here and supporting Palestinian people.
This is akin to if Congress were inviting Hitler to speak in 1940. This is completely atrocious. It's an embarrassment. It's a clear indication of where the American government is right now. There's a huge plurality of Americans that does not support this whatsoever. Meanwhile, our politicians vote in near unanimity to support this war.
Decolonize your mind. So if you leave it to Netanyahu, Iran is funding all of these people that we're just talking right here. All of these protesters, Iran funded these people. They're the useful idiots of Iran. Caption, it says, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visit to Washington, D.C. sparked protests over the war in Gaza. The tape was there and heard from protesters on why they took to the streets and the message to the U.S. government and Netanyahu. Comments, it says, if you ever feel stupid, just remember there are people out there who think Israel is the victim. Another comment, it says, well said, we support humanity, not genocide. Another one, so proud of these true Americans who still uphold their values, free Palestine and America from Israel occupation. Another comment, respect to you all who stand up for humanity and justice. Another one, these are the great people with human dignity and respect. Another comment, I'm a human being and I deserve a decent life. Look at my life after the war. I wish my life could go back to how it was before. Another one, we are tired in Gaza after more than 290 days of this unjust aggression. There is no safe place, and those who wake up in the morning still alive are lucky. The smell of death is everywhere, and our fate is unknown. Please pray for us and don't leave us alone. Another one, Jewish should be not used by Zionists. Couple more comments. It isn't about Israel versus Palestine anymore. It's about humanity. Another one, we had a war criminal addressing in Congress. Another one, we are in Gaza, want ceasefire now. Yeah, if you're still on that side where, you know, Israel deserves the right to defend themselves, and you don't see that what Israel is doing is all the way over the top, then me and you are on opposite sides.
Police video shows a local Pennsylvania SWAT team trying to find a way to the roof used by the gunman who tried to kill former President Donald Trump.
There's a ladder right here.
Seeking a ladder, then climbing. One responder is heard noting,
It's on a roof outside of the fence.
finding the trail of shell casings.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At least 8.
And the AR-style rifle near the shooter's body, then a suspected detonator.
It is a remote control device. It is gray in color.
Pennsylvania Republican Dan Muser, who was near Trump during the rally, says he wants more answers about the response.
I don't think there was a high sense of seriousness and urgency, frankly.
Meanwhile, a day after FBI Director Christopher Wray raised questions about whether Trump was actually hit by a bullet.
There's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit his ear.
Democrats pounced.
And if he's lying about whether he was actually shot, that's something that the American people should know.
The only medical statement released about Trump's injury wasn't from the hospital that treated him, but by his political ally and former White House doctor, Ronnie Jackson, who today defended his argument. It was a bullet.
If it wasn't a bullet wound, I ask you, what was it, right? Piece of glass? Where'd the glass come from? I've been told the teleprompters are completely intact.
Trump called for the FBI director's resignation after Christopher Wray raised that question about the bullet. The FBI, in a statement to CBS News, says it is devoting enormous resources to learning everything possible about the shooter. Newly released police video.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy times. So the FBI director is like, we don't even know if he got shot by a bullet. We don't even know. Okay, I guess, hey, I'm not privy to all the information that they have. Maybe they have some information that I haven't seen, but crazy, crazy times we're living in. CBS Evening News, newly released video shows police assessing the rooftop where a gunman targeted former President Donald Trump. Texas Representative Ronnie Jackson, Trump's former White House doctor, defended his claim that Trump was hit by a bullet after testimony from FBI Director Christopher Wray raised questions. Comments says, I know other people were shot and was killed. I think Trump got hit by a ketchup packet. Another comment, where's the wound? Where are the medical records? Another comment says, oh, see, we want the official medical report. Show the report, interview the doctor too. Another comment, the ear of the clown isn't cut nor hurt at all. It's all staged. Another comment, how did he miss? Another one, Ray was being diplomatic. I'm no ballistic expert, but the injury did not seem to be consistent with a .223 from an AR-15, not even if the ear was grazed. Another one, Trump should simply show his medical records if he really wants the man to resign. Another one, what gets me is they said he drove a vehicle full of explosive, but they say he rode his bicycle. So if he rode his bicycle, who drove the vehicle with explosives in it with the detonator? Man, I'm not going down this road with these conspiracy theory stuff. Like, it looks like he was shot. The reason why the dude missed was because he turned his head right at the last second. I don't know, man. These complex conspiracy theories when it could just simply be some crazy kid, domestic terrorism. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. And, Secret Service got caught with their pants down. It says 47% of U.S. adults younger than 50 without children said they were unlikely ever to have children. When asked why, 57% said they simply didn't want to have them. When asked why kids were not in their future, while most said they simply didn't want to have them, other reasons include the desire to focus on other things like their career or interests, concerns about the state of the world, worries about the costs involved in raising a child, concerns about the environment, including climate change, not having found the right partner. In another recent study, only 26% of U.S. adults said having children was extremely or very important to live a fulfilling life. So, New York Times, it says, a growing number of U.S. adults say they are unlikely to raise children, according to a new study released on Thursday by the Pew Research Center. When asked why kids were not in their future, more than half of them simply didn't want to have them. Women were more likely to respond this way than men, 64% versus 50%. The decision to raise kids shifting from something that's just an essential part of human life to one more choice among others, said Anastasia Berg, an assistant professor of philosophy. Why are more adults saying they're unlikely to have kids? Comments, it says, as a partner of two young kids in upper middle class, I'll help translate. There's hardly any useful structure support for families in our society. Both parents have to work full time to afford to live. Childcare for kids under 5 costs as much as a mortgage. Childcare and school schedules don't align with work schedules. Child tax breaks are meh. Access to mental health services is generally not covered by insurance. I don't regret having kids, but as a liberal, I don't perceive the U.S. as a country that wants people to have kids. If they actually wanted that, our policies would be different. Yeah, I think so too. You know, it's really tough. So it's a punishment. It's a punishment to have children in our society. You get punished left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. You know, I don't know, how, it's a miracle that parents are able to simply drop their kids off to school and pick them up after school. Like just that one little part is a miracle because most people's jobs, they have to be to work before the kids have to be to school or heading to work before the kids get off school. And they don't get off until after the kids get out of school. So that part is like, and if you're like a single parent, you can forget it. And one parent has to have, either be at home or have a job where they can actually pick the kids up and drop the kids off. And then you got the parents who that's not an option. They got to rely on other things, some kind of bus system or something like that. Like it really isn't. And when the kids are little, how much you have to pay for daycare is over the top ridiculous. You might as well just not go to work and stay home with your kid because your whole salary is just going to daycare. Yeah, I think it's because, they just want to make as much money as they can. It's that infinite growth. It's that profit over people, and it leads to these kind of results because they know people don't have no choice. So like with the daycare, they have to pay these exorbitant prices for daycare because they have to pay for daycare. So it's price gouging. Comment, it says, not looking for an argument at all, but I don't understand why people are so mean to us women who never had children. I'm 47, never married, no kids, didn't find the right person to settle down with. I love my life, own a small business, and have great friends and family. To say mean and hurtful things to us is just beyond me. Yeah, so they made the comments about the cat lady. I think I have that coming up, but they said Kamala Harris is a cat lady who doesn't have any kids, and therefore she shouldn't be, the president. And there is a stigma to women who haven't had children in our society, like they're lesser. Comments, it says zero supported parental leave, high cost of health care for women, good luck giving birth for less than 10K, outrageous cost for childcare, poor educational systems, housing cost crisis. Honestly, we could barely afford the one we did have. Another comment says, where does it seems like it sucks fall on the list? Another comment, it's unaffordable. This country is pro-birth, not pro-parenting or pro-family. Yeah, so it's like the pro-life thing. It's like, they're pro-life all the way up until the baby comes out the womb. And then it's like, hey, get in where you fit in. You shouldn't have had that kid. You should have made better decisions or whatever. Like, we're not freaking trying to help you with your situation, but you better have that baby or we're going to put you in jail. Another comment. It says 40, never married, no kids, grew up in a traditional family where women did all of the cleaning, cooking, child rearing, and caregiving while still having a full-time job. Nope. Right out of that, as soon as I became a legal adult, currently growing a small brokerage firm and enjoying the peace and quiet I have at home with my plants. Sorry, no regrets. Another comment says, I'm the mother of two boys, ages 10 and 14. Both were planned pregnancies with my wonderful husband. Do they bring me fulfillment and joy? Yes. Would I have felt fulfilled and joy if I had chosen not to have kids? Probably yes. We never viewed kids as our key to happiness, just a part of it. I'm just grateful women are making the choice that is best for them. After that, it's no one's business. Another one, because I don't want to, is a completely valid reason, and this generation of women are becoming more and more comfortable saying so. Well, it's becoming more and more difficult for them to stand on that because if they make a mistake, another comment, I'm a married 30-something homeowner with no kids. Why? Because I don't want kids. It's not about the money or anything else. Not wanting to is reason enough. Another one, not everyone should be a parent, and that's okay. I agree with that comment right there. Not everyone is suited for it. And it's okay to not want it, because some people shouldn't be parents. I see parents out here that should not have kids because, yeah. Another one, why would I want to spend my life saving to pay for the privilege of giving birth in a hospital where the maternity mortality rate is the highest in the world? Go home where neither I nor my husband would get more than a few weeks parental leave just to grieve that child in yet another school shooting less than a decade later. So yeah, that's another part of this, is that almost any other European or Western country gives people parental leave when they have a baby. Like, they give them time to be with their child, for the first months, year or so of their life. And here in the States, they do not. I mean, it's like 3 to 6 weeks or some shit like that. And the mom is back to work. They don't give the father any time off here in this state. Other countries, they give the mother and the father a year plus off. They're here in the States, they're gonna say you're lazy. You just don't want to work because you just had a baby. One of my bosses at the job was like, yeah, my wife was in the hospital having my child and I was at work. And he was like, that's what you have to do. You have to work because you have to pay bills, and that's what's important, and all of this. And I was like, man, that's a really crazy ass way of thinking. Like, you didn't want to be there for your child's birth. Like, how many times does that happen in your life? You didn't feel like that was important. You felt like it was more important for you to be at your job. And that kind of way of thinking is the American way. Like, a lot of people think that way. I mean, like, Generation Z is not on that shit, but the boomers and Generation X, they were on that shit where it's like, I gotta provide for that child, so I need to go to work and make this money. And it's like, damn, bro, like, not even one day, the day that your child is coming out of the womb, you didn't want to be there. Like, who knows all the stuff that could go wrong. And the mother can only do so much to protect the child. You got stuff where these babies are getting switched, all kinds of crazy stuff happening. Like, she needs somebody there for her support, at the very least, just to keep an eye on the baby and make sure that they don't do something crazy with the baby. You don't care about your baby enough to be there when the baby is born? God. And then they try to make you feel bad. You're like, I want to be there with my baby when my baby is born. Like, well, your job here in the United States, your job is the most important thing that's going on in your life. Like, you know, there's nothing more important than your work. That's crazy. Really insane.
Palestine supposed to do? What are Palestinians supposed to do when in 2018, thousands of Palestinians in Gaza marched peacefully to this fortified perimeter fence that Israeli snipers have authorized themselves to shoot to kill? And that's exactly what they did. They massacred over 200 peaceful demonstrators, medics, press, journalists, clearly marked press, disabled people in wheelchairs, and children. These are all violations of international law and the Geneva Convention. Israeli snipers perched up behind sand dunes picked people off one by one in a methodical slaughter over the course of several months. That's when Palestinians tried to peacefully protest. So I think the question should be, what should Palestinians do? Because they're not even allowed to advocate for their legal rights. There's no symmetry between an occupying, colonizing force and the people that they're occupying and colonizing. You could obviously make the same argument that preempted October 7th, that it was a declaration of war to siege Gaza, to prevent aid from getting in, to shoot people that stray too far out, that are fishing, that can't go get medical aid and are sentenced to death within Gaza. Is that not a declaration of war? Is it not a declaration of war to violate international law to maintain a brutal fascist military dictatorship in the West Bank? These all preempted October 7th. So it just keeps going back and back to what is the root of actual violence, Piers. What is Palestine supposed to do? What are Palestinians supposed to do when in 2018, thousands of Palestinians in Gaza?
So it's like Israel has a right to defend itself. Do the Palestinians have a right to protest, to have rights, autonomy, self-determination, and if they don't have those things, do they have the right to fight for it?
אנחנו באים לעזה.
I'm gonna have to read this.
אנחנו באים.
We're coming to Gaza. Hold on.
אנחנו באים לעזה. אנחנו באים ללבנון.
We're coming to Lebanon.
אנחנו נבוא
We will come to Iran. We will come everywhere.
לאיראן. אנחנו נבוא לכל מקום. תביאו בחשבון.
Can you imagine how many we're going to kill?
כמה אנחנו הולכים להרוג מכם וכמה אנחנו
How many of you we're going to kill?
הולכים לבצע בכם.
On each of the 1,300 people you kidnapped.
על כל אחד מ-1,300 האנשים שרצחתם, שדדתם, לא ראיתם.
You did not see these numbers
מספרים כאלה בדברי
in all of Arab history.
האומה הערבית. אני מעדכן אתכם שזה
I assure you that it will come.
בא. למקרה שאתם מבולבלים.
In case you're confused, I assure you that it will come.
אני מעדכן אתכם שזה בא. מספרים של
Numbers that you did not imagine.
לא דמיינתם שאפשרי, אפשר בכלל להגיע אליהם.
That is possible to get to them.
ואנחנו מוכנים להיכנס.
We are prepared to fight with the United States.
לבידוד בינלאומי, ומוכנים לריב עם ארצות הברית, ומוכנים לריב
and the entire world.
עם כל העולם ואחותו. כמה שנצטרך.
How long it will take until all of you,
עד שכולכם, כולל כל התומכים
including all your supporters,
שלכם, תעלו לפגוש את
go up to meet Allah.
לא, אנחנו נהרוג. שיהיה ברור.
We will kill you. It will be clear this is the sentiment.
שיהיה ברור, זה המצב בישראל, זה הסנטימנט. אז תחגגו ברשתות
So wait in the social media.
חברתיות, תעשו Free Palestine.
Do a Free Palestine. Do all your crying.
תעשו את כל המסכנות שלכם, ואנחנו נבוא להשמיד.
We will destroy you.
אתכם.
Destroy you.
להשמיד.
So, Israeli anchor, evil tirade becomes reality. At the start of Israel's obliteration of Gaza, this clip of an Israeli TV anchor went viral. Channel 14 Shea Golden warned Palestinians they would see numbers of dead that you never imagined were possible. He also warned his country was willing to be ostracized by the international community. Well, his shocking tirade was prophetic. Since then, over 39,000 people have been killed in Gaza. That number is not right, and it's because all of the people who do they've killed all of the agencies. Everyone who can verify these numbers or check on these numbers, they're not there. There's no one there to count the dead, basically. So this number has been hovering around this number for the longest, even though we've seen more and more bombings and more killings. And then you have a large number of people who are still under the rubble. So this number is definitely way lower than the actual number. So it says, since then, over 39,000 people have been killed in Gaza, mostly women and children. The Lancet Medical Journal says that the overall death toll could be more than 186,000 due to the devastating impact on healthcare systems and food supplies in the enclave. Meanwhile, the International Court of Justice has called it genocidal, while the International Criminal Court prosecutor has requested arrest warrants for Israel's prime minister and defense minister, along with Hamas leaders. It says, as Shea Golden warned, Israel has indeed killed on a scale you never imagined possible, despite being ostracized on the world stage. Of course, there's one caveat. The U.S. continues to bankroll Israel's slaughter, and in April, Congress approved another $14 billion in security assistance. Now we have U.S. presidential candidates doubling down on Washington support ahead of elections in November. Couple comments. It says, I don't think I have ever heard such evil being spoken. Another one, they are not the real Israelites. They stole the lands. They are Zionites, white people. Another one, we are Palestine. Another comment, don't worry, your time is coming. Another one, the genocide happening in the Congo is not reported as you're reporting whatever that's happening in Palestine. I'm not against you reporting what's happening in Palestine and Israel, but excuse me if you put more efforts on what's happening in Congo, the better for us as an Akabilon. Thank you. Another comment says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Arrested a woman suspected of killing her wife with a samurai sword in San Dimas. Bizarre video from last week shows deputies confronting a woman bloodied and holding the sword in the street. Investigators now say the deadly incident started as an argument. They say the suspect, Wei Qian Wang, attacked and killed her wife, Chen Chen Fei. She then allegedly attacked her mother-in-law, who was able to get the sword and escape and call for help. The mother is recovering. The suspect's been booked on suspicion of murder. Authorities have arrested a woman suspected of killing her wife with a samurai sword in San Dimas. Bizarre video from last week shows deputies confronting a woman bloodied and holding the sword in the street. Investigators now say the deadly incident started as an argument. They say the suspect, Wei Qian Wang, attacked and killed her wife, Chen Chen Fei. She then allegedly attacked her mother-in-law.
That's crazy. A samurai sword. Wow. So, 44-year-old woman accused of stabbing her wife to death with a samurai sword in San Dimas has been arrested, authorities announced. That's crazy. What a way to go out. She got slices on her leg. God, she came in too late. Not enough time to... Looks like she got a slice across her chest, too. What a strange story. It says this lady in the video is the mother-in-law who was trying to get away. They keep making it confusing because people think the woman in the video is the attacker, but she's not. This is like the third video I've seen today that keeps portraying it as that. Yeah, the way they did the video, it made it. But if you listen to what the guy was saying, you know, they said that the mother-in-law was the one who took the thing. And the police are going to be like, you know, hey, drop the weapon when if they show up and they see you with a sword, you know. So that's what made the video look like she's the one who did the murder or whatever. And people like to come to their own conclusions anyways. Like, people don't listen to people when they talk. Like, they just see the video and then they draw their own conclusions from that without even listening to what the damn reporter was saying, which is annoying as hell. A comment that says she didn't get shot in the face 3 times. Oh yeah, she has to be black and hold a pot of hot water 20 feet away. Man, that's kind of a silly comment right there. I mean, I get your sentiments about the cop killing that happened, and that sucked. But trying to, you know, equate that to this situation is totally not fair. Comment says, wait a minute, is she, and she has a wife? What the hell? Another one, lesbian couples have the highest rate of domestic violence. Another one, a woman stabbed her wife, or should it read a man stabbed his wife? No, they clearly said it was a woman stabbed her wife. Another comment that says, stabbing her wife, meaning they're both female. Whoa, so sorry, but for sure God against their marriage, so they're not blessed, my own opinion. Other comment, she didn't get shot in the face 3 times for holding a sword. RP Sonia Massey. Another comment, why is she carrying the sword around like that? I don't know, maybe she didn't want to leave it for someone else to grab it. She probably was traumatized behind the situation. Like, shit, she didn't want that chick to get it back. Another comment that says, wow, so if you're pouring a pot of hot water down the sink, you get shot. But if you come out towards the cops with a samurai knife, nothing happens. She wasn't like threatening with the sword, like.
That it reveals a truth that is clearly broadly held within Republican circles. That white men, by definition, when they have a job, earned it and deserve it. And anybody but a white man is a DEI hire, meaning it was handed to them without them deserving it or without them earning it. George W. Bush became president because his father was president. John F. Kennedy, in many ways, his political rise was because his father paid for it. Paid for a film to be made about his service in World War II to make him more popular. Donald Trump became president because he was on The Apprentice.
Mm-hmm. This is some tea, Joy. This is tea is hot.
But the reality is that in order for if Vice President Kamala Harris becomes president, she will become president because she was a DA who then got elected to be the Attorney General in the largest state in the country, which could be its own country, and where that was not done because the state of California is overwhelmingly black. It's only about 6% black. So she was elected by the entire broad spectrum, one of the most diverse states in the country, as Attorney General, and then got elected to the United States Senate. Meaning that she couldn't possibly be handed the jobs that she had because she had to earn not a few votes, but millions of votes. She didn't get elected senator in Wyoming, where there are more cows than human beings. And so by definition, she's earned every position. But to have even women come forward and try to make salacious accusations about her and essentially undermine her and all of the voters who supported her. Yeah. She was selected vice president as one of the most qualified people to ever take that office, much more so than Dan Quayle. I don't even remember what he did to become vice president. So the reality is they are revealing, not just to us on this panel, but to every suburban voter in Philadelphia, to every woman who's ever worked at a job where they felt passed over for a position that a man received or got the job and then had a question. And I'm not just talking about black women. I'm talking about women in general. I'm talking about anyone who has ever felt slighted. You can talk about working class people who they're based on class. They're told that they don't deserve to be there. Every person has a story about that moment when you were told you don't belong here. All they're doing is turning those voters into voters for Kamala Harris. And so just as a matter of strategy, it's absolutely stupid. It's also deeply offensive.
It is deeply offensive. Definitely, I agree with that part. You know, it says, what makes this so ugly is it reveals a truth clearly so broadly held in Republican circles. It's turning voters into Kamala Harris voters. A stupid strategy and deeply offensive. It's definitely offensive. And I think that it's not just Republican circles who have this DEI attitude towards things. And, you know, calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire it's offensive. It's maddening. It really is, you know, and I'm not a Kamala Harris fan, but that is some really ugly things to say. And it has no merit. Attorney Crump, it says a repost from Santana Raymond. Sometimes you have to stop what you're doing and just listen. It says, I said what I said. Republicans are telling us that they believe that only white men are qualified, and inherently so simply because they are white men to do any important job. Voters take note. If you're a woman or a person of color, they have zero respect for you. It says, Joanne Reed on a DEI hire, Kamala smears. What makes this so ugly is that it reveals the truth clearly so broadly held by Republican circles. It's turning voters into Kamala voters. Stupid strategy and deeply offensive. Comments, it says 131,000 white women for Kamala showed up last night and had the largest Zoom in the company's history, all in. Yeah, I saw that story, and they raised a whole bunch of money to that. Another one, DEI definitely earned it. Harris for the win. Another one, Kamala has more public service experience than Trump and JD Vance combined. Another comment, us women must unite. Another one, interesting how DEI wasn't an issue when Black women did everything involuntarily under oppression and for free for hundreds of years. No resentment when we did all the things our oppressors didn't want to do. We were forced to do all the heavy lifting enduring Jim Crow for lowest wages, but she's disparaged because of her gender and race. Another comment, I was just thinking this, so white nepotism is fine, but if she wins, it's DEI, how? Yeah, that's the reason why it's like they got rid of affirmative action, but the legacy students is okay, you know. So somehow the legacy thing is okay, but DEI is, or affirmative action is not okay. Another comment said, remember November for Kamala, we choose freedom. Another one, it says, the way that women have to be attacked for simply doing what their job entails is sad, shaking my head. Hence, VP of the US, all she did is step up and she earned each position by vote and nomination. And women can, that's it. That's the T. A woman can be VP, and I think women would make a great president. The country needs something, and it isn't more hatred or division. It already has that. She looks like unity. If she wins, it's clearly because the country wants change. Let's unite. Humanity is at stake here. Very well articulated. It says, no, Donald Trump became president because he is a businessman. He runs the United States like a business. Another one, DEI, she definitely earned it. Another one, Ronald Reagan was an actor. We'd have 3 father-son presidents. Another comment, just vote, all this talking. Look, Trump can't give police immunity. He just can't do it. Congress can, and the Republican Supreme Court will uphold it. No, we have to have the majority in the House in order to survive on these streets. Another comment, if Harris becomes president, it's because y'all want people to vote for her just because she's brown, not due to her legacy, because if Black people turn on the TV and do real research on her, I doubt if she would get a single Black vote. I'm getting tired.
Harris back on the trail today in Houston, rallying educators at the American Federation of Teachers.
Donald Trump and his allies want to cut Medicare and Social Security, to stop student loan forgiveness for teachers and other public servants.
In the near future, former President Obama's expected nod, which sources say has been held out of respect for President Biden and his Oval Office address last night, will come as Harris is working fast to define her message on her terms before former President Trump and Republicans do it on theirs.
There are some people who think we should be a country of chaos. We choose freedom.
Harris says she's ready to rumble on the debate stage.
I'm ready to debate Donald Trump. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready.
Today, Trump advisors told CBS News Trump is ready and willing to have several debates with Harris. Meanwhile, the vice president is pushing to focus her campaign speeches on policies she champions as part of the Biden administration, such as reproductive rights and gun control.
We want to ban assault weapons, and they want to ban books. Can you imagine?
But a bruising political battle is ahead as Trump casts her as a liberal Democrat who's out of step on the border, abortion, health care, and the economy.
She's worse than him because he's a fake liberal. He wasn't that liberal. He was fake. She's a real liberal.
Meanwhile, the clock is ticking on Harris's decision on a running mate, with more than a dozen names being considered, including Arizona Senator Mark Kelly.
It's not about me, but I've always, always when I've had, the chance to serve, I think that's very important to do.
Top Democrats privately tell me Senator Kelly is near the top of the list because they believe he comes from a key state. Plus, they say his service in the Navy and at NASA would square up well against Senator J.D. Vance, a Marine veteran. Nora.
All right, Robert Costa, thank you very much.
It says the race between Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump is ramping up as Harris rallies Democrats and says she's ready for debate, all as Trump says the same and Harris moves closer to picking a running mate. Comments, it says Kamala clueless, I'll never vote for her. Another one, I must have been under a rock. Please explain to me why she is debating when she wasn't voted in. Isn't there supposed to be a primary or a vote for a candidate? This is a serious question, not for either side, just a question. Please explain. Another comment, polled at 1% in 2020 and has the distinguished honor of having the worst approval rating in history of a vice president, and even lower than Dick Cheney, who shot a guy in the face. This was the choice to subvert the millions of primary voters and install a candidate selected by elites, not very democratic of the Democrats. Another one, she's in charge of the border. How did she do? Another comment, she's clueless. Another one, love her. Smart and qualified to lead this country, vote blue. Another one, protect democracy. Who voted for her? Another comment, she couldn't beat RFK in a primary and you know it. Another one, I asked the people one question, Dems or Republicans, are you better off today or 4 years ago? I think you know the answer. Another one, VP Harris will wipe the floor with Pokey, a porn star. Polka porn star. Another one, impeach Biden and VP Harris now on our border crisis. Another one, Kamala Harris 2024. Another one, he'll never be ready for a debate with her. She's not going to stand there and just let him brag about his golf game and tell lies. Another one, worst vice president, I voted for Trump. This one, it says, Elon Musk's trans daughter says he berated her for being queer as a child. So yeah, this went viral, the clip from the Jordan Peterson interview with Elon Musk. It says the 20-year-old trans daughter of Elon Musk, Vivian Wilson, says that he berated her as a child for being queer and feminine. Comments, it says parents have 100% rights over their children's upbringing and no one, especially the government, has a say. Another one, child, you have a whole family that loves you, I promise. Yeah, so Elon Musk is like, my kid is dead. Comment, it says, I hope she's safe. Elon Musk is proving how unfit he is to be a parent when bashing his own daughter all over the internet because he doesn't understand how things work. Another one, normal action of a father. What's wrong with that? Another one, it says, imagine choosing not to have a relationship with your child because of gender. Life is short. Another one, him, Xavier is a boy, and to say otherwise is contributing to the mental health issues. What he needed to hear is that there was nothing wrong at all with him, and he was perfect just the way he was. It's a tragedy that we've now legitimized child abuse and called it healthcare. Big Pharma laughing all the way to the bank. Shame on all of us. Another one, imagine telling the world you lost your child when you have a child right there with a relationship you can repair, but instead you choose to go after the woke people. Bruh, to mend that relationship, money ain't everything. Yeah, he said his kid was taken by the woke mob. Oh, this is that story I mentioned earlier. It says Netanyahu takes suitcases of dirty laundry to U.S. for free washing. It's a weird story right here. Washington Post, Netanyahu brings suitcases of dirty laundry for U.S. government to wash. Report claims Prime Minister and wife bring laundry from Israel on official visits to be cleaned free of charge by U.S. staff, matching years of Israeli reporting on Netanyahu's habit. American officials are perplexed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's habit of bringing bags of dirty laundry from Israel to the United States on official visits in order for the clothes to be washed by U.S. government workers, according to a report published Wednesday in the Washington Post. The report matches years of reporting by Israeli journalists, but is the first time that American officials have commented on the subject in a leading American publication. It says, "You won't believe this. American officials are perplexed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's habit of bringing bags of dirty laundry from Israel to the United States on official visits in order for the clothes to be washed by U.S. government workers, according to a report published Wednesday on the Washington Post." Yeah, so that's such a strange thing to do. Like, really, really weird. It says the Blair House offers free laundry service to all its guests, but the report stresses that most foreign heads of state use it in reasonable manner, basically to wash the clothes they and their families wear during their visit. The Netanyahus are the only ones who bring actual suitcases of dirty laundry for us to clean, one U.S. official explains in the story. After multiple trips, it became clear this was intentional. What a weird thing to do. Like, what is the explanation for that? Comments, it says, America is a Jewish corporation. Another one, it says, what in the actual F? Another one, do you expect anything less? It's a humiliation ritual. Another one, it says, he is very thrifty. Another one, U.S. tax slaves. Another one, it says, putting his slaves to work. Another one, because the U.S. is his dumping ground. Really, really strange thing to do. I think I'm gonna wrap it. That guy set the fires in California. She wasn't endorsed by the HBCUs. Her little sideways comments about Israel and Gaza is irritating to me. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I'm tired. I think I'm gonna wrap it in the stuff I missed. I'm just gonna cover in the next show. So, thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for listening. I'm out.